Welcome to my early thoughts on the Elden Ring Nightreign test. In this video, I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the network test as far as gameplay cycle, challenges players face in each map, the loot and items you get from exploring the level, early boss designs, and the general feel of Nightreign itself. First off, number one, it's hard. You start out at level 1 with any class you choose. Each time you die without getting revived, you lose a level. This is similar to how you would lose a level in Demon Souls if you fall to your death or if you get grabbed by False King Allant. The enemies will be familiar to the base game of Elden Ring, which gives it the appearance that it'll be easy. Most, however, have higher health bars, along with some enemies that would normally stagger in Elden Ring now don't stagger in Nightreign if you don't hit hard enough. On top of that, the weapons and items are random with random abilities and passives. So, you may not have a strong weapon, but if you have 2 to 3 weapons sharing the same passive ability, you could create excellent opportunities to do damage. Passives generally fall under one of 4 categories: increased attack, increasing defense, or resistances, enhanced item discovery, or stealth. Some weapons could also have an elemental bonus like frost or bleed on them already. You also find items that give you damage or defense bonuses like boiled prawns, exalted flesh, because basic leveling may not be enough if you don't have a real weapon that does damage, or a group of weapons that are helpful like what I mentioned earlier. Now, balancing may be an issue in this game. I played the network test with some random people in my party, and oftentimes it was very clear who has played roguelikes before and who hasn't. If you play this game expecting it to play like Elden Ring because of all the familiar enemies, you are in a world of hurt. If you don't stick together and play as a team, you generally didn't level up high enough to stand a chance against the day 1 boss. And if you didn't know, there's a 2-day cycle of explore, find weapons and items and armors, fight the boss, and repeat for day 2. Then if you win and survive and are lucky, you get to go fight the Night Lord. Now, when I and 2 randos finally met the boss, chaos ensued. Most of the bosses had a wave of enemies we had to take out before the boss would spawn in. Depending on which boss or bosses it was, they may or may not summon more enemies during the fight, which means balancing will definitely be an issue upon release. If you don't have good weapons, buffs, and debuffs, or level up exceedingly well, you're dead. It's plain and simple. Even if you have friends with you to hopefully negate the leveling up issue, the bosses still have insane health bars. There was one run I had that we leveled up to around 10 levels, killing many enemies, some field bosses, that made us think we were making it to the Night Lord instead of dying right away. And unfortunately, we ran into the worst boss we could get, a demi-human queen and a swordmaster. Both of those 2 hyper-aggressive bosses were difficult to challenge as my team and I split up to fight them one-on-one. I took on the queen and the others took on the swordmaster. While I was handling the queen quite well, actually, I noticed my teammates falling, and when I turned around to save them, I saw a field full of enemies that I did not know were there. Then I immediately got stomped on by the swordmaster and got sent back to the round table with nothing to show for it. Well, such is life. But in other words, balancing is definitely going to be an issue, as the bosses are much harder than what they were in the base game of Elden Ring, and when you add in additional mobs like fingers, demi-humans, or dogs, the fights are already going to be difficult due to the higher health bars, and the bosses get new movesets or additional phases. It becomes incredibly chaotic and difficult to deal with. And honestly, previous skills with Elden Ring or any other From Software games hardly comes into effect in this game because the formula they are trying to do is so different than the traditional Souls games. More often than not, I and the randos I matched with were running around like chickens with our heads cut off, trying to get items and everything we needed just so we could get squashed as soon as we got to a boss fight. Now, you might be thinking, and I can already hear the comments saying, things like, "Well, get good, sounds like a skill issue," or "You really didn't do it right." Well, probably, you're right, not gonna lie. I'm not super experienced in roguelites, but I am incredibly familiar with From Software games, as I've played all of them. Everything that I've already said has some validity to it. However, I really enjoyed everything I mentioned above. The new challenges that showed within the new formula they are trying is incredibly addicting. The randomness of the game is what made it fun. Every time I dropped into Limveld, I was in a new spot on the map, or in the first section was familiar. The next few areas, I had no idea where I was, and it was great to explore a new world every match. Their new formula created this new sense of urgency that you rarely get in From Software games outside of boss arenas. The circle closing in around you provided a huge pressure that was on my shoulders every time I ran anywhere, and it's unlike anything I felt in any Souls game. It is something that I thoroughly enjoyed, as well as my laid out plans and strategies to get the best loot would get thrown out the window as soon as that circle started closing, and honestly, I can't wait for release so I can do it all over again. My final thoughts on Elden Ring Nightreign is that it's going to be an incredible challenge with new obstacles to face and familiar bosses coming back with new movesets and a different world to explore every time you enter the world of Limveld. The balancing issues I addressed in the network test will definitely get addressed either before or after release, so more often than not, you're going to have a similar experience to what I went through upon release, but I expect it to get fixed very, very soon, whether it be decreasing health bar sizes on bosses, reducing the health bar on the mobs that they enter, or buffing the character a little bit more. There's so many ways they could fix that issue that I'm not even worried about it in the slightest. I expect Elden Ring Nightreign to be an amazing experience as each cycle brings forth a new chapter to grow stronger and get better as you play with your friends and take on new challenging bosses and eventually confront the terrifying Night Lord. Elden Ring Nightreign releases on May 30th, 2025. What did you guys think of the network test? Did you guys have as much fun as I did? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe as it helps me out so I can make new exciting content for you to enjoy. And as always, have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.